everyone. Greetings. It's Naomi Wolf, and I'm so happy to join you today, especially because I've been feeling like having a near-death experience. It's a very timely moment to talk about this book. I'm feeling better after 3 days of herbal self-medication, which I just posted about. But I want to welcome a special guest, Katie Asher, co-author of the new book, The Book of Heaven. Welcome, Ms. Asher.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. And Ms. Asher has done a lot. Uh, this is not her first book. She's a writer because of her heart. Her bio reads, her heart loves two things more than all others, her savior and the five little people that began in her womb. That is her world. She's been a single mom for the last 15 years, struggling to survive and maintain hope. Her second child, now 25, I'm so sorry, is severely autistic. For over 2 decades, he was trapped in his body with no way to communicate his intentional thoughts or emotions. His body betrayed his efforts to communicate every day of his life. 3 years ago, she learned how to give him a voice, she says, and that's when she discovered, sorry, this is Loki, her son was not intellectually disabled, as the experts had claimed, but was actually brilliant and had incredible gifts. The discovery of her son's heart and mind after 2 excruciatingly painful decades led her to research in depth the sensory and motor neurological phenomenon that manifests as autism, as opposed to the intellectual disability he had been labeled with. And she unravels in this new book, The Book of Heaven, and exposes the emotional and spiritual struggles that parents of children with autism experience while they grapple with faith in God in the midst of severe trauma that never ceases. And her son is named Houston, and he says, I am a servant and child of Elohim. Jesus is my savior and Lord. Wow. So it's, obviously an intense story. I'm so sorry
It
for
is.
the struggles that your family has gone through. I'm so sorry for your son's health challenges and communication challenges. I don't want to say cognitive challenges because I'm sure you'll show me if that's not correct. Why don't you just start at the beginning? What led you to write this book, and then get into why? I mean, these are huge claims, and every
Mhm.
mother with a disabled child or cognitively impaired in some way child wants to believe the experts are all wrong. This is, he's in there. I can reach him. I
Mhm.
can find him. Tell us about how you feel that came true for you and your family.
For sure. Thank you so much. And I actually need to update the bio because he's 29 now. So he's been able to communicate for 8 years.
Wow.
Our miracle began in 2018, and it was after obviously 21 years of a very disconnected and bewildered body that I was dealing with. And that was our reality. I had one moment before that when he was 17 where out of absolutely nowhere, I was struggling personally with just severe depression and doubt and hopelessness, all the things that you would think accompany a severe diagnosis had run their course through my
Mm,
heart and my spirit. And I was completely depleted. By that time, I was a single mom raising 5 kids on my own, working
so hard.
3 jobs
Oh my God.
without support, just trying to make ends meet, all these random things, just trying to make a life, trying to survive another day. And it was in that moment that I had been encouraged to believe that good had just as good of a chance of happening as bad, which I thought was ridiculous considering my circumstances.
Mhm.
And so I was extremely discouraged. But these friends gave me tremendous encouragement
Mhm.
that my thoughts had power.
Hmm.
And it was in that moment where I was struggling with this choice of whether to believe in my circumstances, which is what we all do,
Mhm.
or to believe in the fact that there was something more possible,
Mhm.
which I
And
think
may,
gets
may
to
I
your
jump in?
question.
May I just
Yes.
jump in for a minute, Ms. Asher? Who were these friends? Were they members of a church? Were they? part of an avant-garde community of psychics. Like, why, who
Yeah,
were they and
it was
why would they
actually, I was
believe
getting
this?
my yoga certification. So
Mm,
they were yoga instructors and
mhm,
they were not from the church. And
right,
they were, the church would not have told me that. They would told me
right.
to suffer and persevere, which they did. So here I was, but they said something very tangible to me, which was look at a table or a chair.
Mm-hmm,
And what was the table or the chair before it was a table or a chair? And most people, when you ask that question, say it was wood or plastic or metal. They go to the raw material.
hmm,
And but they pushed further and they said, actually, it was an idea, it was a thought.
hmm,
And then the second question is, would that chair or table exist if no one had ever had that thought or idea? And the reality is, it would not. It
right.
cannot manifest itself. Someone actually has to think of it. So I had this tangible way to realize that my thoughts had power. And so in that moment, as I'm completely surrounded by chaos and destruction and despair, Houston comes in and sits at my feet when I was
And
laying on the
Houston's your
couch.
little boy. You're now a young
Houston
adult.
is my, and at this moment, he was 17.
Hmm.
And just to the background is he was developing perfectly. He was injured by vaccines at the age of 8 months. It was severe. And this isn't even questionable, just for the audience to know. He had a severe immune reaction. We ended up in the hospital. A hematologist diagnosed him with a vaccine injury.
Oh my
They
gosh,
gave him
that's
IVIG, gamma globulin, multiple doses. We didn't know this. I thought that would fix it. I
mhm,
thought that's what doctors do is they
right,
fix problems.
right.
That isn't what happened. And when he got the MMR, it got progressively worse. And I literally watched the regression happen in front of my eyes. And one parent said, it's like someone came in the night and stole your child and left this bewildered body.
Oh
And
my
that's
God,
what I
how
was
awful.
living with.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And I know you've done so much work to support those who have experienced traumatic effects from vaccines. And so I just want to thank you for all of the advocacy that you've done. It's tremendous.
It's very kind. You're welcome. Let's please keep
Okay.
going about your family. Thank you.
So when he was 17, he came down and he sat at my feet and he was not jumping up and down, making booming noises, flapping his hands, stimming, or any of those things. And I knew it was odd, but I was so honestly just tired. I didn't even give it any recognition.
Mhm,
And then he suddenly reached over and he tugged at the blanket just like you would to get someone's attention,
mhm.
very intentionally, which was shocking. And he said, Mama. I never heard him call my name. I opened my eyes. He was looking directly into my eyes and he said, I love you. I'd waited 17 years to hear those words.
God.
So when you wait 17 years to hear those words, and all you have from the experts is hopelessness, and yet you have this one moment of a miracle, you choose to believe in the miracle as a parent.
Sure.
And so that's what I did. And it was another 5 years before he could begin to spell. And that's where our journey began, was with him developing the motor coordination to begin to point to individual letters in order to spell out his thoughts.
Mm.
That was extraordinary. That began at age 21. I didn't even know if he knew how to read or spell. That's
Right.
how severe his autism is. It included all of the classic severe signs of or symptoms, which the nakedness, the screaming, the echolalia, the stemming, the
What's
OCD,
echolalia? Repeating other words?
repeating back what someone says. So people think that that's all they're thinking. What it actually is, which I found out later, was overactive mirror neurons.
Mm.
It's a lack of motor planning. So the mirror neurons just activate based
Oh,
on the
wow.
input that's
Wow.
coming in,
Yeah. So
as
sorry.
opposed to
Yeah.
intentional motor, which coordinates 7 different body systems and over 100 different muscles to create the speech that we understand as language.
Right.
So, fecal smearing,
Jeez.
eloping,
What's
running and
eloping? Did you say eloping or loping?
eloping.
What is that?
eloping is where they just take off and run away. And it's this inability to control their body. And
Oh
so
God.
he would elope constantly. He would throw himself into bodies of water. He was obsessed with water. He created massive floods.
There is a worldwide rush for gold right now and precious metals. China is buying gold. There are rumors that the Federal Reserve will be using gold to pay off federal debt, or the federal government will be using gold to pay off federal debt. Um, Famous investors are buying gold. And there's a movement away from the dollar worldwide. And you can see that there are warning signs in the economy that appeared before the Great Depression in 2008 that are flashing red right now. So, in all this instability, it is a very good idea to protect your savings, to protect your IRA by diversifying into precious metals, especially gold. There are a lot of gold companies out there. Not all of them are kosher. Not all of them are responsible businesses. American Alternative Assets really is. And we're very, very proud to have them as a sponsor. We're very picky about our sponsors, and we only accept sponsors who have products that we either use or invest in ourselves. So I really encourage you to go to cloutgold.com, cloutgold.com, and get a free report explaining to you what the risks are of not diversifying into gold and silver. And I just want to note that when Brian and I started talking about investing in gold 5 years ago, when it first became clear that you could do that easily, if we'd put in $1,000 then, it would be 5,000 now. If we'd put in 10,000 then, it would be 50,000 now, and so on. So obviously you can't predict everything about the future, but gold there's a limited amount of it on the planet. And in a time when you can have your assets switched off if they're digital, like the truckers in Canada had their bank account switched off. People in Spain are having their bank account switched off. All of China is now on a social credit system. Your assets can be switched off. And Europe is pushing for central bank digital currency. Now is the time to diversify into gold.
We had multiple near drownings.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and this is also, and he won't sleep. So
Oh
fun
my
for me,
God.
right? Um, Jumping, flapping, biting himself so severely he would grind on the bones. He has calluses that are like literally and
No,
almost three
I'm
quarters of
sorry, I
an
can't
inch
take
high.
very detailed
Yeah.
injury
I mean,
descriptions.
severe. It's severe. So when he said, Mama, I love you, and then I began to hope. And then when he was 21 and spelled, um, the very first words he spelled that were independent were an answer to the question, if you could put any slogan on a t-shirt, what would it be?
You
And
asked
my
him that?
son, my friend was doing a lesson with him, and that was the question.
Right.
And he spelled, I'm in here. Yes. So when he began to share more and more about his experience, we're doing all these lessons, and I ran out of lessons. He was doing so well in so many of them. So I just started
By
using
answering, by
by
pointing.
pointing to letters.
And
And
excuse me, Ms.
mhm,
Asher, at this
yes,
point, did you go to his, doctors, his medical team, and say your diagnosis appears to be wrong? He's able to, reason normally, he can express himself normally, look at this evidence. And if so, what did they say?
they were shocked. They wanted to see it. They, even whenever they were witnessing it, they were trying to still find a way to prove that they were right. But it was really hard because you're watching it, and it's really hard to unsee when you've seen it.
So what did the doctors say to you? Did they update their diagnosis? Were his
No,
medical records corrected?
they're all the IQ tests are based on motor test.
Right.
So And so, of course, if you have a motor disability, and what this spelling does is it brings the motor down to the most basic gross motor. And it's
Mm,
also relying on a coach where you have like a
right,
dance partner, where they
right,
are
right.
encouraging you and helping you to initiate the motor to keep the motor going. And what it is actually entrainment, which is part of a natural biological process that the entire world has, and that is where you naturally come into rhythm with your surroundings. This
I
is
mean,
why.
Ms. Asher,
Mhm.
so just so people don't think I'm being mean or insensitive, I told
Yes.
Ms. Asher before we began that I'm so, happy to give her a chance to talk about her important journey and her son's important journey. But that I'm an old-fashioned journalist, so
Yes.
I ask follow-up questions. Doesn't mean I'm being rude or mean. Um, I don't know how to say this. Uh, there have been other parents
Mhm.
who similarly believed that their very damaged, neurologically damaged child was, giving the right answers or giving
Mhm.
informed, rational answers with a coach, and that entrainment turned out to be input from the parents. It was unconscious or, unwitting. So I guess what I want to just double check is, what checks did you have to make sure that you weren't, like I would do it as a mom? If God forbid my child was disabled, I would unconsciously be so wanting them to be able to choose that R,
Mhm.
that whether it's my mind saying choose the R, so strongly, or them watching my eyes or whatever it
Mhm.
is, there could be an unconscious nudge that I'm not aware of. A, and B, I believe most tests these days by law have to make accommodations for very severely disabled students. So you weren't given the opportunity to have an IQ test with him, in a context that took into account his disability. Sorry, my dog Loki loves to sit in my lap when I'm
No, no,
podcasting.
that's totally fine. The problem is if you don't consider the fact that it's a motor disability, those aren't the accommodations that you're given. It's the same as giving a blind person a vision test for their IQ
Mm.
and expecting them to pass a vision test, even though that's their disability. So if you're using a motor-based test and their disability is motor planning, then the test itself is going to come up against massive obstacles for the person that's being measured.
But don't they, I mean, as I understand, forgive me for asking, um, if you spell out what your son's disability is, isn't the state obligated to make allowances specifically for that disability in any test, cognitive test?
Yes, they are, and they do not obey the law. And that is why so many people end up in basically court for all these different violations of due process.
Mhm.
And it is a massive issue in the special needs community that most of the world is not aware about. But pretty
Wow.
much anytime you go to advocate for your child to get an appropriate accommodations or to even acknowledge that they have global apraxia, which is an inability to motor plan, essentially the
Mhm.
brain is sending the signal and the motor isn't able to coordinate the motor
Mhm. Got it.
response.
Mhm.
And because there's such a lag in the school system in understanding neurological injuries, they don't know how to recognize that as what it is.
Duly noted. And
Okay.
you've got a lot of supporters out there. Mitchell C. Mary says, "Oh my God, nonverbal autistic children have been spelling with board and tablets in Mexico for years now."
Yes. And so
Yeah.
what you were referring to as far as influence, that's a very important question. And it's actually it could be an entire episode. It's so complex. But whenever I answer the rest of your other question, I think you'll understand why that actually happened as far as the influence in those
Okay,
previous tests.
let's get to that. So sorry
Okay.
for my interruptions. Please keep
No,
going.
not at all. They're very good questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
So your son is
He's
expressing
spelling all of
himself.
these things. I literally ran out of lessons. So I'm just using this day in history. And
And
so,
Ms.
mhm.
Asher, could you just have a conversation with him, like say using a board and tablets or whatever tool you're using for not lessons, but just like, how are you today, Hudson? You know, what do you want to do today? Could he answer
So
that? Hmm.
yes, but we were still very much at the beginning. And the way you actually develop the motor is you start with known answers. So
Hmm.
so I can help coach the motor. It's like T-ball,
Hmm. Okay.
basically, for
All right.
pointing.
All right.
So you're building up the motor skills. And then once they get what they call open on the boards, then they can answer any question that you'd like to ask them. But they have to build up the motor skills so they can point accurately
Got it.
before you get to that point.
Gotcha.
And by the way, the questions that you were asking earlier about the parents being influencing them, that was actually facilitated communication where they were holding on to their hand. And
Oh.
what we're doing is actually doing verbal coaching where we're helping them to create their own motor. So they're not having physical support.
Mm.
Although some kids with CP in particular still definitely need that physical support. And people need to understand why they need physical support is because the neurological injury actually destroyed their vestibular system, which is to know where you are in space.
Oh my God,
So
how
they can't
awful.
feel their body. So
Oh
it's
my
very
God.
difficult to control a vessel and an appendage to a
Right.
vessel if you can't feel where it's at.
These people are such monsters who do this
They
to our
are.
children. So Mitchell C. Mary, I don't know if you saw that, said this mom is right. Many can learn from her. So
Yes.
please keep going. Share what
Okay,
you've
thank
learned.
you. So whenever he was spelling all of this massive information, and I'm using like this day in history, biography.com, anything I can. And it was around the 4th of July. I'm like, well, do you know the famous line from the Declaration of Independence? And he literally starts spelling out the whole Declaration of Independence. And I'm like, and guess what? I don't know it. So there's that. So can he spell things I don't know? Yes, he can.
Oh my God. Say that again. Say that
So
again so I
he
understand it.
started, I asked, like, what is the famous, phrase from the
Okay.
Declaration of Independence?
What were
Because I
you
was trying
thinking
to,
of?
we hold these truths to be self-evident,
Okay.
And he literally starts going through and spelling out the Declaration of
We
Independence.
hold these truths to be
Not just
self-evident.
that, but the like all like literally going through line by line by line
Did he
by
have a
line.
photographic memory? I mean,
Yes.
normally
Yes.
developed young
He
person couldn't
did.
do that.
And
Whoa.
that's what, whenever you understand what the injury actually did, you understand why they have a photographic memory.
Oh,
Because
okay.
what it actually does is the cytokine storm that erupts, and because of the aluminum adjuvant,
Yeah.
the cytokine storm basically goes off like a bomb inside their brain and body, destroying organ function, enteric nervous system, the gut, the
Jesus.
liver, the kidneys. But the worst part, of course, is that it disrupts neural motor development because it causes inflammation, encephalopathy in the brain.
God.
And what this does is it interrupts the pruning of sensory synapses, which is a normal part of brain development.
Right.
So whenever you're an infant, you're taking in all this information,
Mhm,
all of it. And the reason
mhm,
why is so that we learn where we are in relationship to our body and where our body is in relationship to the environment.
mhm, mhm,
So because of that, whenever that inflammation happens, the brain is not going to prune itself if
mhm.
it's inflamed.
Right.
So what happens is they stay in that state of taking in all of that massive
Oh,
amount of
what a
information.
nightmare. What, this is just hell. I mean, what,
Yes.
how?
That's why they
This is
are their
one
bodies are
young
so
man in
bewildered.
36 now, or
Yeah. Mhm.
this is, what have we done? Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
we've completely destroyed their neurological system is what we've
Jesus
done.
Christ.
And so he's basically sharing all of these, and I'm blown away. So and then we start doing like just lessons on anything I can think of, and he seems to know all the answers, and I'm like, how, where is this information coming from? Like, I have
Mhm,
to know.
mhm.
And so he finally says, I am special. That's what he spells out. And I'm like, I'm being a mom, right? I'm so
Right,
desperate to know my son, right? And
right,
I am.
right.
I'm a mom. Of course,
Yes.
I've been kept from my son for 2 decades. Of course I want to know him. And he says, and I'm like, of course you're special. And he's like, whatever. You know?
That sounds very
He's
authentic.
21. I mean,
Yes,
he's like,
yes.
stop it. Um, and he said, I can hear thoughts.
Okay, keep
And
going.
I know. And I said, well, are you lying? That was the question I asked.
Wow.
And he said, I mean, talk about trusting your child. I mean, that wasn't exactly an encouraging statement I made. And he said, you don't get the kind of gifts that I have if you lie.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So then I start testing him over and over and over. He passes every single test. So then
Like, what do you
I
mean testing him? Like, what am I
like,
thinking? Think of an elephant.
exactly, what am I thinking? I'm thinking this. Then
Jesus.
I start talking to him, just asking him a question in my mind without ever voicing it. And then he answers the question on the board without me ever even speaking.
I mean, can he join this interview?
Well, he could, yeah, sure. He's downstairs right now. I mean, I will tell you that just for time wise, it takes him time to spell. So and it's quiet. So it's not exactly great video. But it is extraordinary. And we were a pivotal part of the telepathy tapes. I don't know if you've seen that podcast. And there are videos online where they've done testing that anyone can watch. They can
Of
go
your
and see the,
son,
mm-hmm,
of
yes.
Hudson.
And they can, of Houston, yes. And they can see
I'm
him
so
perform the
sorry.
test.
I'm so sorry, Houston. I beg your
Yes.
pardon.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
And so basically, I'm completely blown away by this information. And then it suddenly hit me what my yoga instructors had taught to me all those
Mhm,
years ago, which
mhm,
was thoughts are things. And I realized that
mhm.
thought is energy. And
Right.
so what that means is that the thought, because it is energy, actually behaves according to the laws of energy. And people don't recognize that
Mhm.
our thoughts are actually the same as matter. That in fact,
Sure.
that's what E equals MC squared means, is that energy and matter are the same thing, just measured in very different ways.
Right.
So I was just baffled by this, but I still didn't understand the expanse of what my
Right.
son was
Ms.
experiencing.
Asher, what kinds of questions were you asking him telepathically?
At the beginning, it was actually personal questions about what was going on in my life at the time, some very specific details, because I wanted to know if he knew what I was dealing with
Right.
in
Things you
my
didn't
mind and
tell him.
heart that no
Right.
one had
Wow.
told him. So I didn't
Wow.
even want to speak it. And I
Right.
wanted to know if he knew, and he
Mhm.
did. So, and he didn't actually have a very good opinion of how I was handling the situation either. So,
What were his words? I mean, what was
that
his
he said I
phrasing?
needed, it was it was a difficult relationship, and there had just been a break in the relationship, and he said that I needed to just keep saying that I was sorry, and I didn't feel like I could approach the situation at
Mm,
all.
okay.
So,
All right. All right.
yeah.
Keep going, please.
So, that was the beginning. And of course, then I was just desperate to know everything that he knew and find out what was he experiencing. And he began to explain things like my alternating eyes, or that he wanted heavy shoes because he felt like he was falling out of
Oh God,
his
poor guy.
feet. Right.
Jesus.
And his alternating eyes, I went to an eye doctor. Clearly, I didn't come up with that statement. I
Mhm.
go to an eye specialist, and she says, well, he's his eye will completely suppress. He's going back and his eyes are going back and forth. He goes blind in his eyes,
Oh my
and
God.
and he sees triple of everything, and it moves. Can you
Oh,
imagine?
poor kid. Oh my
So
God.
one of the reasons they have such a hard time is because of, and guess what causes ocular motor dysfunction?
Aluminum in the brain.
Encephalopathy and
Oh my
inflammation in the
God.
brain. Yeah. It
Well, of
basically
course. I mean,
prevents,
it's
right.
like the
It
more
prevents
you're,
the three
it's
cranial nerves from integrating to be able, and of course, that and what you hear, which of course he's hearing everything,
right.
is what coordinates in the vestibular system to tell your body where you are in space. So, what has happened is just a
Oh God.
severe lack of curiosity,
Hmm.
inquiry, and
Yeah.
compassion on the part of the medical community.
Ms. Asher, what you're describing makes me, I would almost turn that on its head. I mean, our kids in America get 72 vaccines. There's
Yes.
aluminum or adjuvants in, I don't know what percentage of them, but all of them are introducing foreign materials into
Yes.
their bodies, therefore into their brains. They cross the blood-brain barrier.
Hmm.
I, of course, there's going to be inflammation of the brain,
Right.
like by definition. And I
Hmm.
feel like the kind of, oh, neurodiversity, like the let's welcome autism, I'm just neurospicy. The kind of I don't know, pressure to not look at autism and its relationship to vaccines makes me wonder if bringing about a nation of autistic men isn't kind of the goal. I mean, you can really conquer a country with men who are like troubled in the way that your son is troubled.
Well, they're
Anyway, that's not your
neurologically injured for sure, and which of course makes leading, strength, purpose, activity, marriage, reproduction. It makes all of these things that are critical to
communication.
society, communication.
Right.
Now, what's really interesting is actually there's one non-speaker that she spelled, because really what this comes down to
Hmm.
is that because they got detached from their
Hmm.
neurological motor system,
Okay.
they're still there,
Right.
but
Wow.
they developed further and more completely into their etheric, their spiritual body.
Okay, but now respectfully, I get what you're
Hmm.
saying. I'm familiar with
Yes.
all these terms.
Hmm.
That's your hypothesis at this point, right? Because we need
Yeah.
to, you're wanting to explain how is it that your son had all of
Yes.
these capabilities that are kind of beyond what even bright, young adults in
Yes.
not impaired bodies can do, right?
Well,
So tell me about that,
how
but I'm
can
just
that
noting
be,
that
right?
it like we can't
There
test that.
there
Mhm.
are definitely, well, actually there are ways you can test it because they
Okay.
do have abilities and access to knowledge that there's no way they could have.
Totally, but we don't know that that's their etheric body.
Well, if he can see events before they happen,
Well,
he's
tell
definitely
me what he can see before they, please give me more information.
so I mean this is like, I mean, there was this one like I was in a horrific car accident
I'm sorry.
where I was hit head on, hit us from behind, flipped multiple times.
Mm.
Anyway, and before I left that morning, I was running late. And I said, "Do you have anything you want to say before I leave?" And he said, "All the angels do is talk about you." And I was like, and here I am. And I say, "I don't have time for this." And because I'm just still like a normal person trying to navigate something that's way beyond my capacity to understand. And so that was the beginning. And I go out, get in the car, and me almost within, it was within 3 minutes that that head-on collision happened.
Jeez.
And they're trying to reach my daughter because she was caring for my
A
son.
car
And
swerved into your lane. How did a
yeah,
head
it
on?
literally hit me head on. It went straight into my lane, hit me head on. And then that pushed me into the next lane, which hit me by a second car. The car flipped multiple times. And what was weird is in the car, I felt my head being pushed against the back of the seat. And then, and then whenever the car was moving one way, I felt like a pressure the other direction. I literally get out of this accident with, I mean, bruises and cuts, but absolutely no injuries. And the police couldn't believe it. No one could believe it. The EMTs couldn't believe it. They're like, we don't get to speak to people after an accident like
Mm.
that. They finally get in touch with my daughter. She rushes to the hospital. There's no news. No one knows anything. She's completely panicked. And gets out the letter board to Houston because she can spell with him too. And she says, "Aren't you worried?" And he spells out, "Calm down. She's fine."
Wow.
And she looked at him and she goes, "You knew." And he said, "Don't be mad. It had to happen for God's wonderful plan to work." And so then later, I'm like, "Okay, how much do you know? What is going on?" And I just want you to understand this is not just my son. This is many, many of these severe non speakers have these extraordinary gifts. They don't all have the exact same gifts, but they all have very similar gifts. And what was really extraordinary to me was after he began to share more about what he was experiencing, he starts describing things from scripture that he had never read.
All right, well, let's take a pause for just a minute and
Mhm.
process uh all of this because it's a lot.
It
It's a lot.
is. It
Um,
is. I tried to
and
kind of.
I just want to share and read what Mitchell Mary has shared. Nonverbal autistic children are not dumb. They are very smart. They just cannot speak. This mom is so correct. My son, with an original ATEX score of 143, I'm not sure what that is, began to regain his speech with Carrie Rivera, this doctor in Mexico. At 8 years old, he graduated an elite high school in Mexico with honors at age 21 this last June, now going on to university soon. That is really amazing.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
That's amazing. So, parents of autistic children take note. There's a doctor in Mexico who's working wonders with autistic kids. And I guess we should all take note that they can probably understand us just fine.
Yes.
And that they're, as your son said, they're in there. So, go
Well, they
ahead
also
now
can
with,
feel everyone's emotion because emotion is also energy. In fact, that's what the word means is E, energy, and motion, emotion. So they're processing everyone's emotion, hearing everyone's thoughts, and they are, of course, they have synesthesia. And most people have like a real basic understanding of synesthesia. Do you know what synesthesia
I
is?
used to have it when I was a child. Yes, it's
Okay, so
smelling, color,
right,
seeing
exactly. So
numbers. Yeah,
the
as
problem with
colors.
these guys is they're experiencing all of it, like not just hearing, hearing light,
Hmm.
tasting light,
Hmm.
feeling light.
Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf. I want to talk about microplastics. Microplastics are infiltrating every aspect of our lives. Some studies estimate that we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every day through our food, water, and even in the air that we breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of human living samples. Nobody is safe from exposure, and it gets worse. These particles don't just sit inertly in your body. They cross the gut lining and leach into your blood, and they disrupt everything. They alter the gut bacteria, suppress immune response, and raise the risk of neurodegenerative diseases, metabolic disorders, and even cancer. Some plastic toxins, such as BPH and phthalates, mimic hormones, interfering with fertility and even damaging DNA. Even if you eat clean and avoid processed foods, you can't opt out. But your gut can help you fight back. Kimchi One from Bright Core Nutrition is a potent ally in this toxic world. Created with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi, it's proven to break down BPA, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion, it protects cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, but your gut can protect you if you give it the right tools. Get 25% off this incredible product by using the code WOLF at mybrightcore.com/wolf, or even better, call my friends at Brightcore and get 50% off plus free shipping. That's 888-575-4996. You've got to protect yourself. Thank you.
Just everything
Mm.
about
Right.
every single sensation.
Wow.
So Houston says like red tastes more than any of the other colors. Like, can you imagine? And then of course they see the energy in people. They actually see the the energy of the soul. And
Yeah.
when you understand that everything's energy, it becomes a little bit easier to
Well,
understand how
but
they're
Ms.
processing so
Ms.
much.
Asher, I'm sorry, I have to keep pulling you back to what we can try to
Proof.
verify.
Hmm.
Um, what evidence do you have that he can see the energy of the soul?
His reaction to me, the very first time I even knew that I had a color or that my soul had a color, was when I came home from doing energy work. I'd had like doing energy healing, and I came home and he was doing one of his stems where he had like spread every single piece of bread we had and was taking ranch dressing and scrubbing. It was like a
Wow.
disaster, right?
Wow.
And I walk in and his jaw drops and he looks at me and he says, "What did she do to you?"
What do you mean he says? I mean, he
I'm
must have
sorry,
moved.
when he
Okay.
spelled out,
So he stops his stemming.
yes.
He stops the ranch dressing.
And he
He
gets
goes
the
to the
letter
board.
board.
He
Mhm.
gets the letter board and he spells out without your assisting him.
Without me assisting at all. I have
What
no
did
idea
they
what
do
he's
to
going.
you?
What did they do to you?
Okay. And your
And
response was what?
what do you mean?
Okay. Which you
And he
spell out as
said,
well, or you just
"No,
say
I,
it
I
so
just, I just
telepathically?
speak."
You just speak it. All right.
And he says, he goes, "Your entire life, you've been nothing but blue." He said, you are the deepest blue of the ocean and the deepest blue of the sky. Your blue is so blue, your blue has its own blue aura. Or halo. Sorry, halo.
That's beautiful poetry.
It is. And I said, "I'm blue." Like, I don't even understand what he's talking about. And I
Right.
said, well, what color am I now? And he goes, "You're blue and purple."
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
know? And so then later on, and I was doing all the things she was telling me to do, like ground and take Epsom salt baths and, meditate and do all these things. So I was doing all of those things. And he said, keep healing. He said, the purple on your hips
Mm.
is, it's basically, it's healing the
Mhm.
trauma that's there. And there's been actually a lot of research that, our emotional trauma affects our physical body. And so what he is able to do, because he's seeing energies, he's able to see those different vibrations.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty common
Yeah.
thing for people who are
Claire,
sentient,
yes,
Yeah.
right. And so when he is explaining this, I'm like, but what was amazing was that was where she had done all the work, was my
Oh,
hips.
wow.
And
Oh,
he
that
didn't
is
know
amazing.
that. So
Okay, that
that
is
was
amazing.
the first
Yeah.
evidence to me that he really was seeing it, because he could see exactly where she had worked.
Right.
And
Now, go ahead.
and that is just I mean, that has, and that he's not the only one. Many of them have said this exact same thing. And
Now slow down, please, Miss Asher.
okay.
Many of whom? Many parents, many
Oh, no,
autistic kids, many spellers.
many
Okay.
spellers. That's a word that we often use for them, is spellers.
All right.
Many spellers have also discussed how they can see people's energy in color.
Okay. So independently, they talk about
Independently,
this.
they do not even know each other, and they are speaking this exact
Okay, that's
same
very
statement.
interesting. And
Yes.
what evidence do we have? The testimony of parents, of coaches? Is this on video? How do we know this is real? I mean, it's
That
a
they
lovely
are
thing to believe that they are
that
independently able to see colors of people's auras or
well, one of the ways to have evidence, and you have to collect it, is to have multiple people who don't know each other, giving the same testimony
but what evidence do you have right now for what you just said?
that they are doing that,
Yeah.
that they're making those. We have their statements, that have been videotaped, they
Okay.
have been recorded.
All right.
We have spellers who have entire blogs
When you say
related
we,
to
who
what
do you
they
mean?
experience.
Who is we? Are you in a group of parents? What's the we?
Whenever I refer to we, and I'm so sorry, I'm referring to the parents and the spellers.
Okay.
So collectively, and the coaches as
Right.
well.
And is this a formal community, an informal network of friends, a research group? What is it?
This is definitely informal.
Okay.
And most of this has been passed along by word of mouth. The movie Spellers the Movie came out and definitely got a lot of new individuals who were non-speaking spelling for the first
Oh, wow.
time.
All right.
And when they began spelling, they were confirming the same things that other spellers had previously stated.
Wow.
And
Wow.
one of the incredible statements that one non-speaker made, her name is Sammy. I have to get my glasses here so I can read it. She talked about the injury that was done to them
Mhm.
and the purpose for it, which I
Ooh.
think is pretty amazing.
What did she say?
I'm so sorry. It's going to take me 1 second to pull it up, Bill. Here we go. She said, get my glasses out here because I'm older. Things that are out of tune and out of harmony will cease to exist because the power of all this is overtaking the planet at rapid rates and cannot be stopped. We're too far along in the process. No one saw us coming, and the evil ones could not see our true potential. Even if they tried to stop us with poisons, they did not know that they helped us stay out of the body and bring in something new.
Wow. That's
I do
amazing.
not know this person.
Right. Do you know the person who communicated this?
No.
So we don't really have, I'm not trying to be rude, just trying
It's
to
okay.
separate.
I'm
Yeah.
making sure that everyone knows that this is from another family that I do
Right.
not know.
But how do we know it happened? How do we know it's verified by that family?
Their communication partner, I guess when you're in this group, the spellers are very self-advocating. They are putting up their own blogs, their own statements. They are putting in the
So is
effort
this
so that people
from
know
a
it's.
speller's blog?
I don't know
Or
if it's from their blog or from their personal communication. It was shared with permission.
by someone with firsthand knowledge of it?
Yes.
Okay. Let's keep going. I mean, just
Okay.
for the record, I would not say that's verified. You know,
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. My Houston's experience is verified by him and me.
Totally.
So
I'm just trying to
so
not go beyond what we know. And
I
journalistically,
understand what you're saying.
verification takes either an eyewitness or two independent
I did
confirmations.
not
Yeah.
witness this individual spelling that.
Okay. All right. Well, it's very moving, and it would certainly be amazing to confirm for sure because it's full of implications if it's indeed verifiable. And wouldn't that be nice for the planet and for humanity? Because, that I mean, one of your quotes in your book is from Daniel. No, is it Daniel? Probably not. You intended Joseph. You intended evil to me, but God,
Genesis.
right.
Yes.
Joseph is speaking. Yeah. But God intended it for good. And that would be so wonderful if these poor kids, know that they've got a higher mission and are part of a higher mission. That
They
would
do
be
not see themselves, like one of the questions that Houston was asked, and I was actually very curious to the answer to this is, do you consider this a blessing or a curse?
Mm.
I didn't know what his answer would be.
Mhm.
And he said that the problem is it's all too much,
Mm.
but it's a blessing.
Wow.
And he wouldn't want to be like everyone else, but he would
Wow.
want to be included and respected.
That's so sad.
Yes. And the reason why, when I asked him why, and he said, because he gets to see the love of God.
Mm.
And the love of God is so profound and so much more important than what we spend our lives on, that he would much rather have his whole life be focused on sharing that love with others than on worried about what other people are worried about in this temporal world.
Wow. Very profound young man. Well, let me ask you this, because unfortunately, we're drawing near to the end of our time
Yes.
together.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to say. I guess my first question is, if there's a group of spellers who can now express what they see and observe and know,
Mm-hmm.
and if indeed they or some of them, like your son, appear to have like diagnostic powers based on, auras or energy fields.
Mhm.
Are they diagnosing?
Are they diagnosing? Yes, some are. Absolutely. And one of them, like Houston, went right up to our friend and put his hand on this one spot. And the man gasped because that's exactly, he had liver cancer. And that
Oh,
was
Jesus.
exactly where the liver cancer was. Another non-speaker, when his friend, when it was a caregiver at one of the facilities that he was at,
Hmm.
and when he would come, he would run out, and he didn't want to be around him. And of course, they were thinking, oh, it's like personality, or well, he when they finally asked him, he said it's the smell. He's sick.
Mm-hmm.
He could actually smell the sickness on him.
Right.
And their brain just processes sensory. And we think of like light is light, sound is sound, smell is smell. But
Mm-hmm.
whenever everything's being processed together and you're taking in so much more of it, you're just perceiving a greater percentage of the information.
Right.
And neurotypicals, we are only able to perceive 4% of the actual energy around us,
Wow.
but there's another 96%. So whenever we're basing our understanding just on
Mhm.
4%, we have to have the humility to recognize that there is more than we're capable of processing with our limited sensory input channels.
Certainly. So thank you for that answer. And you, excuse me, your book is titled The Book of Heaven. Does heaven come into this? Does he
Oh
know?
my goodness. Yes,
Does
it
he know what
does.
heaven is? Where are we headed? Tell us in our last few minutes
So
together.
that's a gigantic question, but the big, you know what? I'm going to use Houston's words because they are much more prettier and more profound than mine. He spends a great deal of time describing heaven, and he, of course, he wasn't taught scriptures. So when he was describing actual parts of the Bible that he had never read and very specific details, some of which I didn't I didn't know personally. And
Hmm.
then I would be reading and I would actually find the scripture that would correlate to what he was describing.
Wow.
But what he said is malevolence and love fight for us. That's going on inside us and around us.
Hmm.
He gave me a task to tell what I've seen, to tell of his love, to be his herald. I'm without any doubt friends with Jesus. I don't want anyone to die not being his friend. Most importantly, hear this: anything is possible if you believe. The profound impact that my son had on me was to destroy my doubt, and I had an enormous amount of it. I was probably completely paralyzed by doubt, by what I could see. And he dismantled it in so many extraordinary ways that I had to get to the place where I believed. And I always, when people ask what changed, I say, I used to believe in God. Now I believe God.
Hmm.
And so I take God at his word. And so if he says that all things are possible for the one who believes,
Hmm.
then I take him at his word and I believe
Hmm.
him.
Okay. Well, that's incredibly moving. So did Houston, sorry, I'm from New
It's
York, so I just thought
okay. It's all
Hudson,
right.
like Hudson Street. I'm in the Hudson Valley. Did Houston grow up without any religious training or education? Did you guys go to church or synagogue? What's your religious background?
We went to church,
Hmm.
and I am a conservative Presbyterian, reform, a
Okay.
Calvinist, right? They're the
Uh-huh.
most materialist of all the Protestants.
Right.
And his spiritual education consisted of where the special needs classroom was, which was in the basement of the church
Oh,
at the very back of the building where they would play the Disney videos.
oh
That is the
no.
extent of his
Oh
spiritual
no.
education.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, that is extraordinary. And last question, I guess. If everything you're saying is true, right,
Mhm.
and verifiable, it is a big story and it
I think so.
deserves a lot of attention. Um, Especially if, as you say, other young people or people with similar conditions are also showing similar capabilities and even gifts, right? Um,
Yes.
That's
Julia
a whole.
Mossbridge at Northwestern is
Mhm.
studying it right now. Of course, Dr. Diane Powell has already been studying these
So slow down a little.
gifts.
Please slow down a little. This is important. When you say she's studying it, what field, what department, what kind of study?
So Dr. Julia Mossbridge at Northwestern is in the field of neuroscience.
Okay,
And
good.
so she is studying this with more than a message passing test, but basically being able to transmit information in a not being in the non-local.
Right.
So you're
Okay.
not in the
So
same
she's
place.
testing the telepathy part, is
She's
what you're
testing
saying.
the telepathy. She's also testing the ability remote viewing, which
Okay.
is, I hate those words,
I know.
honestly, but
Yeah.
Houston says the angels open windows in time. I like that
Wow.
better. I like that
That's beautiful.
description
What a
better.
phrase. This guy's awesome. What a
Yeah.
poet.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
I like his wording better,
Yeah.
but basically it's the ability to see non-locally as well. And that can be non-locally is both not geographically in the same place as well as not temporally in the same
Hmm.
place.
Hmm.
So that can be either
Gotcha.
or both.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, it makes sense from a kind of quantum physics point of view.
Correct.
So she's looking at it. And now, are medical doctors who treat autism looking at any of the things that you and your community have found?
Some of them, I'd say right now, the biggest change that I've seen is there are researchers that are actually doing MRI scans and other types of
Mhm.
testing to prove that cognition and the language centers of the brain are actually being activated, even though there's no speech. Speech is 100% motor. So
Mhm.
if you have a motor impairment, it's very difficult to produce that speech. But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that the brain is not actively learning and listening and
Right.
understanding.
Right. So in other words, there are some
It's at the
autism
very beginning
doctors.
stages
Yeah.
right now. And I do believe that the success of these are going to open up the interest in other fields and other researchers to
Sure.
find out more.
Well, I mean, one would certainly hope. What does Houston hope for in his future? What does he want to do?
He wants to be a herald for Christ, but other things that he'd like to do, he wants to be a captain of he wants to be able to sail the world.
Okay.
And he wants to marry and have a family of his own. Those are his two big dreams, but aside
Well,
from what he
I
wants
mean,
to do for
among
God.
other things, if everything you're saying is real, it could open up the possibility of relationships, certainly between people with
Correct.
these impairments, that could be life-changing, right?
There's actually a young couple that we know personally who have, and they're young, but they've fallen in love and have, intend to marry. And
Wow.
they both know how challenged their bodies are, but that's what
Yeah.
their entire goal now is focused on healing their motor so they can proceed with a life independent where they can have a marriage and a family. And I should mention that Houston also wants to be a forensic psychologist. And he said that he said that he is an expert at understanding how bad men think. And so he
Okay.
so he wants to make men tell the truth. And I'm like,
Okay,
good
that's
luck with that
cool.
one.
I like it. Um, well, lastly, does Houston have any kind of big picture insight into what's ahead for humanity, like even in 2026? And you say he sees future events. What's his take on where we're at?
It's interesting because what changes those future events? We think that they're all set out and we're just
Right.
going through them. What people don't realize is that our thoughts, our beliefs actually affect what's going to happen. And so what he's seeing is a change of heart, a change
Hmm.
of faith, a change of belief. And that is where he sees, which he knows is necessary to create any other change
Hmm. Okay, in a positive direction, he's
in a
saying.
positive direction, in a
All right,
very
great.
positive, hopeful
Just
direction.
in time. Thank you, Houston, for that vote of confidence. I
Yes.
really needed to hear that.
Mhm.
Um, all right. Well, this has been incredibly eye-opening. I look forward to additional, I hope everyone listening who is a scientist or a psychologist or, designs clinical research trials, pays attention to what Ms. Asher has brought here and what her son Houston has made available. It takes I will just say this for the record. It's an incredibly, what is the word? Kind of exciting and illuminating set of hypotheses with huge implications. Takes a ton of additional exploration, which I'm
For
sure you
sure.
welcome.
I,
And
I do. And I
mhm.
want to tell everyone that I did a obviously I couldn't go into it in detail on in just a short interview, but I did a massive amount of research in our book. And I tried to create enough of a foundation for people who are interested in these fields that they can take these little seeds of ideas that
Mhm.
need to be dug in deeper and they can expound on these. There are some extraordinary different avenues that people can explore, and it involves the our spiritual nature, how spirit and matter interconnect, and then of course the actual energy and activity and language of the rest of creation, because
Right.
that's another thing is Houston,
Wow.
right? Yes, and Houston, like the interplay between animals and Houston is extraordinary because they're communicating on an
Wait,
intent level.
what? Wait, the
They are
interplay between what
communicating
and
on the
what?
level of emotion and thought and intent. And I've seen the animals have extraordinary reactions to Houston, which are unexplainable.
Wait, you're saying animals relate to these young people differently than they relate to everyone else? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Yes,
be rudely checking my phone. I've just lost the script I'm supposed to follow for thanking our sponsor, which perhaps my kind
definitely find that.
producer will
That's
shoot me.
important.
But what do you mean that animals react to him differently?
So, for example, dogs in particular are obsessed with Houston and
Really?
literally would just completely chase him down, just all over
Wow.
him. And this one time we went to a friend's house and her dog would not leave Houston alone. I mean, jumping onto all over him.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, "What is it?" And he said that the dog knows that I'm someone close to God. And then another
Oh my
dog,
God, that's so nice. Are
yeah.
dogs especially close to God?
Yes, 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 yes. Dogs are
Are
especially
dogs
close to
angels?
God. Of
Let's just
course
get
they are. All
fancy
dogs
nitty
go to
gritty
heaven,
here. Are
right?
dogs angels?
Yeah. Well, they see angels. They absolutely see
Ah,
them.
so talk about
Yes.
burying the lead, Ms. Asher. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. That's incredible.
And then we had a dog that literally came up to Houston after this and literally put its head on the ground, put its paws over itself, tucked its tail hind up, tail tucked like he was bowing. And when I said, and when the owner picked him up and the dog's literally like shaking like this, I witnessed this. This was
Oh my
firsthand
God.
experience. And I said, and I didn't want to like, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I am like, Houston, what was that? He said, my angels. And I said, well, what made the dog like? He goes, my angels are 10 feet high with wings as wide.
Wow. Oh,
And yet, and the thing
wow.
is this animal couldn't lie.
All right. Well, I'm glad you have a book, but I'm really looking forward to Houston's book.
Well, Houston co-authored this book with
Oh,
me.
I see. I see.
So
Excellent. Excellent.
his experiences are in the book.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm so sorry. We're out of time. I'm going to thank you, everyone. You can find the Book of Heaven on Amazon. And is there any other social media, Ms. Asher?
Asher House Hope at all the
All
handles
the things.
and on Twitter it's KT Asher 5.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Asher. Give our very
Thank
best to
you.
your extraordinary son. And I really look forward to following this story some more. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm going to remove you from the studio now so I can thank our sponsor. My wonderful producer has made that possible. Take care. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. What do three billionaires, four major banks, and a legendary 72-year-old investor all have in common? They're making the same they're all of them making the same shocking prediction. Gold is headed for $10,000 or more. Goldman Sachs says gold will surge 20% JP Morgan says 25%. And one respected economist now believes the US government could deliberately raise gold's official price to help pay off the US national debt. And the world's wealthiest players are already making their move to acquire gold. Now you can see exactly what they're seeing for free. Our friends at American Alternative Assets have just released a powerful new report, The Surprising Case for $10,000 Gold. It breaks down the hidden signals, the central bank gold buying spree, and the way that smart Americans are protecting their retirement. God, we need to do that with gold right now. I'm doing it. Brian and I are doing it. We wish we did it 5 years ago, because if we had, our investment of 5 years ago would have quintupled in value. But you can start now, just like we started, better late than never. Go to cloutgold.com to download it for free, or call 855-803-GOLD. That's 855-803-GOLD, and cloutgold.com. Don't wait. The window is closing fast. And even since I began reading that script, gold has gone up and up in value. And now China and the national banks are acquiring more and more gold. So it's one of those things that just, they don't make more of it. There's only so much on the planet, and we really do need to diversify. I mean, since I began reading that script, Zoran Mamdani, in the city where I live and own, an apartment, has pretty much declared through his appointment of a true communist to a tenants' rights office that he kind of endorses, and he's standing by her. He endorses the privatization, or the state acquiring your property, the state acquiring your real estate. So with threats like that, something like gold is more valuable than ever. It's easier for the state to appropriate an apartment in Brooklyn than it is to find out where my gold is and take it from me, right? I mean, we're really in those times, so don't hesitate. Look up cloutgold.com, and it's an incredibly reputable company, American Alternative Assets. They'll answer all your questions. We're really proud to be sponsored by them, because there's a lot of a lot of sketchy behavior out there around this kind of precious metals purchasing and management. So call them. You guys, that was intense. Thank you for being with me for that. It's a lot to think about. I hope that a lot of people look into what Ms. Asher is reporting. If it's real, it's life-changing. And I hope I wasn't trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be a good journalist, and stay as grounded as possible in what we know. And I'm very delighted that Ms. Asher seemed to welcome that as well. So this is an eye-opening conversation here on Outspoken. Again, you guys, we're not NPR, we're not CNN, we don't have corporate, scripts to read. I mean, I just disclosed that we have a sponsored script. That's very different. I'm always transparent about sponsored content, but we have no agenda except to bring you newsworthy stories, important interviews like the one that you just heard, and opinion that is honest. So that's hard to create. And if you like it, and we're in the top 250 podcasts and news commentary in a dozen countries around the world, including, amazingly to me, Congo, Nigeria, Pakistan, Indonesia, Canada, the United States. I didn't have any idea we were so popular, in these Russia, very different countries. But it takes a lot to produce a podcast like this and distribute it. We're a small team, but we have to pay the bills. If you want us to keep going, we need your help. So go to dailyclout.io and make a donation there, or subscribe, please. It's only $3.99 a month, or you can make a donation of any amount, or go over to Outspoken on Substack and become a paying member. That's about $7 a month, $70 a year. It really makes a difference to us. And again, you can make any kind of donation there. Thank you. Love you. I'll see you tomorrow.